All right, let's get into this. You ever have one of those days where a bunch of totally random, disconnected things happen, and then all of a sudden, they just click, revealing some deeper meaning you never saw coming? Well, we're about to dive into a really fascinating personal story that's all about that. We're going to trace the hidden threads that connect a dream, a baby's cry, an ancient riddle, and even a tough yoga pose, all through a single, powerful moment of stillness.
So, our story kicks off, like a lot of strange days do, with a dream. The author wakes up, and there's this one single image just hanging there in their mind. A bus ride. Specifically, the exact moment the bus crosses a set of railway lines. I mean, it's a simple, almost forgettable little detail, but trust me, it's the very first piece of our puzzle.
And then that dream is just shattered by a sound from the real world. It's a baby crying from a house nearby, and it's got this intensity that just slices right through the quiet of the morning, even before the first call to prayer. It's this raw, urgent sound that adds a whole other layer to the day that's just beginning.
And then we get this, a super cryptic phrase, "Akama bai." What in the world does that mean? Where did it come from? Right now, it's just a string of sounds, right? A little linguistic mystery just dropped into the mix. But you're going to want to keep this phrase in mind because it turns out to be incredibly important.
And the final piece of our puzzle, for now, is a physical one, a really, really tough yoga pose, the Dhanurasana or bow pose. Now for the author, this isn't just some morning stretch. It's a constant challenge, a real point of physical and even mental resistance.
So this is the big question, isn't it? We've got a dream about a bus, a crying baby, this bizarre phrase, and a difficult yoga pose. I mean, on the surface, they have absolutely nothing to do with each other. But what if they do? What hidden thread could possibly tie all these scattered moments together? Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
Okay, so to start unraveling this whole thing, our first stop is the outside world, the world of culture, of history, of tradition. This is where the author finds the first really surprising echoes, connecting their own personal experience to something much, much older.
Okay, so remember that mysterious phrase, "aka ma bai"? Well, it suddenly gets some context. Turns out it's part of a local festival tradition. The story goes that a spirit named Bhutaraj is trapped by a curse. He asks a riddle that starts with these exact words, and he can only be set free if someone gets the answer right. The riddle is basically, who is the one who skips certain sacred rituals? And the shocking, liberating answer is simply, it's you.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. The author connects that local riddle to their own heritage. They remember an ancient song from their own Oriya culture, one that traders used to sing as they set sail for faraway lands. I mean, it's a completely different context, right? Different time, different people, different purpose. Or is it? And here it is, the first big aha moment. The phrase from the spirit's riddle and the line from that ancient sailing song, they're nearly identical. That is a wild cultural echo, stretching across regions and traditions. And it's our first solid clue that maybe these scattered events really are connected.
So, with that external connection made, we're going to pivot inward. Because a lot of the time, the biggest thing stopping us from seeing these connections isn't out there in the world. It's all the static buzzing around inside our own heads. Let's dig into the author's internal state and a key opportunity that was missed because of it.
So let's go back to that dream about the bus ride. As the bus is crossing the tracks, the author sees a field that's been perfectly prepped for a new crop. A question about how they did it pops into their head, but they hesitate. They don't ask. And later in the dream, someone actually asks them, "Hey, why didn't you just ask?" It's this really powerful moment about a misconnection, a question that just hung there in the air unasked.
So why was the question missed? Well, the author has a name for it, the jumping monkey mind. And you know what this is, right? It's that nonstop internal chatter, that mental restlessness that pulls our focus in a million different directions at once. It's the static that keeps us from just being present and acting on a clear, simple impulse.
But then, everything changes. The story now shifts towards its climax, that breakthrough moment. This is when all that internal chaos, all that mental static, it finally gives way to this profound sense of clarity and stillness. This is where it all comes together.
The shift begins with this very distinct physical feeling. As the author wakes up for a pre-dawn meditation, they feel this strong, unmistakable pull to their right side. It's not a thought, not an idea. It's a physical signal, like a nudge from somewhere deeper.
And by following that pull, they enter this really deep meditative state, what they call an alpha level. And in that quiet space, a simple, powerful statement just emerges.
I am. I am that. This isn't some complex philosophy. It's a mantra of pure being that just cuts straight through the noise of the jumping monkey mind and creates this perfect pocket of stillness.
And what happens in this state of stillness? The author feels drawn to try that difficult yoga pose again, the Dhanurasana. This is the very same pose they had tried and failed to do just 4 days earlier. It represents a known limit, a real physical and mental block.
This slide just breaks down that breakthrough perfectly. First, the physical pull. That leads to deep meditation. In that state, the author recalls a calling to do the pose. And by channeling that stillness, they finally do it. They master the pose that had totally defeated them just days before. It's such a clear example of how mental stillness can lead to a physical breakthrough.
So, the crucial point here is that this moment of mastery, it wasn't just about yoga. Not at all. It was the key that unlocked the meaning of everything else that happened that day. Now we can finally connect all the dots and see the whole picture come into focus.
Hey, remember the crying baby from the very beginning of the story? Well, after this internal shift, the author notices the baby has gotten quieter. The external chaos seems to be mirroring their internal state. As the author's own monkey mind finally found some stillness, the world outside seemed to quiet down too.
This whole experience leads the author to define it as parallel knowing. And that's just a beautiful concept, isn't it? It's the idea that in a state of true stillness, all these different lines of experience, memories, feelings, cultural knowledge, they can run parallel to each other and then suddenly just snap into alignment, creating this incredible, powerful feeling of meaning and bliss.
And just look at this. All our puzzle pieces are here, and they're not just random pieces anymore. They're a single constellation of meaning. The dream, the cry, the riddle, the song, that missed question, the yoga pose, they weren't random at all. They were all just orbiting the central point, waiting for that one moment of stillness to show them how they all connect.
So we end with this question for you. This story seems to suggest that meaning isn't always found by looking for a straight line, but in the patterns that show up when we're just quiet enough to actually see them. And it makes you wonder, right? What seemingly random dots in your own life are just waiting for a moment of stillness to connect?